Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Maybe because I didn't go.
Oh man.
Can you hear me?
I am trying to. I should just get my iPad. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, you know. Somebody said they could hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you.
I don't understand this, man. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Oh, there you go.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I heard you when you first got on.
Can you hear me clear though? Am I
Yeah.
low?
Yep.
I'm loud.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yep.
All right. Well,
here we go.
I was trying something. I'm using my computer this time.
Okay. Yeah. Excuse me. Yep.
No one's present today, huh?
We'll see. I'm going to share the video. I didn't do that last time because I was spacing out, so I'll do it right now. Let's see.
No, that's cool. I'm about to share it too.
Okay. All right. And then after that, we can just go ahead and get started. Either way.
Sounds good. Hold on.
Oh yeah, I can't. For some reason, I think I said last time I can't share like the video in certain groups. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Hey Isaiah.
Share on the page. How come you can't share it?
I can share it on my page, but I can't share it on the other groups that I was sharing stuff on. So
it's a thing on the top of it that says, like mine, when you go to share. I don't know if I'm sure you're familiar with it, but it says share on page. And then when you click on that, it shows group.
Yeah, and then when you type it in, I type in the group, like it don't let me do it.
Oh wow.
Mm-hmm. And maybe it might be some kind of restrictions they got about I don't know, cause I don't know.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, let's get it.
It is all good. Okay. You want me to introduce the topic?
Go ahead.
Or you want to do it? Yep. Okay. So welcome everybody. Love Language Roundtable. Today's topic is when should you compromise in a relationship? And this conversation was in response to another conversation where somebody asked, and I don't remember the exact wording, but it was like, do you remember? It was like, should the king something with to his king? I forget. Anyway, whatever. The point was
basically it was compromising to the queen and vice versa. Right. I think that's what I took from it.
Yeah. So we thought it'd be a good conversation to have, and so I'm gonna just read real quick the synopsis. So it says, when people come together for a purpose, compromising is inevitable. But is this true for intimate relationships? Should a woman yield to her man, or is it the other way around? At what point does compromise harm a relationship, or does it at all? So I think it's a good conversation, interesting conversation, just to have. I know there's so many different foundational things that make people decide yay or nay on that. So maybe we can get into that. I don't know, depending on what will come up, but I'm open to talking about that. And also interested in talking about how that's viewed in a secular society, not necessarily people who are faith-based, but like in a secular world, like how is that even looked at? Or is it not an issue at all? Because for those that don't know, the Post was a group that is has their foundation in in the Bible. So it's I hate the word religious, but it's like a religious conversation that kind of came up. So we're trying to respond to that. But we're always open to everybody's thoughts and whatnot. So because we don't, whatever. We always trying to learn from each other. So
Yeah, and I think that man, that's an echo. You got an echo on your end?
I don't think so.
I think that it can be put on any group, on everybody, because honestly, in all these different religions, um, for the most part, the masses are not really deep into it. They're not really operating within it fully, from what I observe.
Right.
Unless you like the Nation of Islam, but or the Jewish community.
Right.
But I think that it's definitely it starts from. It basically starts from communication, in my opinion. Because compromising, I saw somebody put a post up to where they look at compromising as you're giving in.
Right. Yeah.
You're fully giving your will away. You're not staying firm on what you believe.
Right. I got you. Yep.
But I think it's different elements to that. I believe that you can compromise while still holding fast on what it is you how you operate. You know,
Right.
against your character, not go against your personal beliefs. So I think it has to be a common ground or a common mindset as far as journey, not just if your journey is different completely, that compromises it is going to be a toll on your relationship.
Right.
So that's what I believe.
Yeah. So so in the context of, I know you mentioned a couple of communities. I guess how would you even define compromise? Let's discuss that first. I think like what is compromise? I mean, we have the dictionary definition, but what would you say it was when it comes to relationships?
Well, we could still pull up the definition too, so
Okay.
people know. So we can kick it off with that.
Okay.
Let's see. So you have compromise, an agreement or a settlement of a dispute that is reached by each side making concessions. Settle a dispute by mutual concessions. So I even think that people don't really understand what compromising means.
Right.
I think a mutual concession is not necessarily, you know what, I'm just giving in to what she says. I really don't want to do it. I definitely don't want to do it, but I'm just giving in, or I'm just giving in to what he says. I really don't want to do it. I definitely don't want to do it, but I think that compromise should benefit both of you ultimately.
Right.
I think that it's going to be things that, like, you know what, I wouldn't have preferred to do this, but it's not that I necessarily don't want to do it. I think the things that we decide to do should be a mutual, like this says, a mutual concession, a mutual element that's going towards the betterment of both of you collectively.
Right.
So,
right.
But that's the definition here. So my definition is basically compromising for the betterment of both of you.
Right.
So that's how I look at it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I think so too. I think I'm very like I think we agree on this aspect, and that it's you know, the relationship period is a union, you know what I'm saying, where two people come together, like you said, for a common purpose, common goal, but with an open acknowledgement that each party brings something that's different, that is beneficial to the whole, you know what I'm saying? I think that is that's commonly drowned out in conversations like this. There's, like you said, there's some communities that's like, oh, I'm the head, you know, and therefore, you know, whatever I say go, or, you know, I'm sure you have it in the same way with the system, with women, you know, where they feel like, you know, if you want to be with me, you got to do blah, blah, blah. So I think that's not even accurate. Like, that's not even what compromising is. And it's if that's the mindset, then why even be in a relationship to begin with? You know what I'm saying? Is it about domination, or is it about really working with somebody in order to get better? Which, you know, that's a whole nother conversation. So I would agree, but I think, like I said, with the original post, the assumption, underlying assumption was that somebody had to back down. Not that it was a mutual backing down or working with it and trying to agree. So that was the issue. So
So
go ahead.
Going into a sense, should a woman go back, a part of the backing down part that you just brought out.
Yeah.
I think that goes into your question: was should a woman yield to a man, or is it the other way around?
Right.
I think it just depends on the topic.
Right. Yeah.
It's so broad of a topic. I think we have to probably put out some examples to that.
Yes.
I think that ultimately, like I had put a post in that same group when I was saying, like, if you come to something to where you both can't agree and you just both, don't want to back down, then is it something that we should put in place that we will compromise on? So, like, I give you a perfect example. I cast lots sometimes.
Yeah, I feel you. Yeah.
And I think that that can be a form of compromising, because both of you are not going towards what you both prefer individually.
Right.
But that casting of lots, it allows the decision to be made if you are a believer in the culture by the higher power, and then you just go off of that.
Right.
And that's kind of a element of compromising as well. Like, you know what? Whatever this decision says, that's what it is.
Right.
So,
right.
That's like to me, that's like can't even think of the word. My mind is just gone right now. I'm sorry.
That's all good. Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's right too. Is that to have a way to come to a conclusion that is not necessarily one person, because that could breed resentment long term. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And a feeling of imbalance if it's only one person's voice that rules, in that situation and stuff. So when is it inappropriate, I guess, to like at what point is compromising gonna be, kind of gonna be bad? You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the part I was kind of just curious about, like, are there boundaries in it? And I think everybody's relationship is different, so I can't even speak on nobody's relationship. I think everybody's household is different. I think marriage is looked at differently in different situations. So, so I wonder at what point is compromise not even up for discussion, you know what I'm saying? And I think that's what people have been kind of commenting on. Because even in that post, like, people was commenting on it, and it was like, well, why can't they both do it? Or, no. Oh, and this is the other thing too that I forgot to bring out. In their original post, the example was given was that for those that believe in the Bible, the example was given that the people of God, they basically yielded to whatever the Creator said. So, and they were looking at that as the prototype for when you are in a marriage. So the wife would be the children of Israel, the people of God, and then the husband would be, the God. So whatever he said goes. So people use that example a lot, but that's also what was thrown in there just for food for thought and for a little spice.
Well, my take is that's false. I'm not trying to get into no doctrine stuff. I'm gonna just keep it. You know what I'm saying? Like, whatever they feel in their home, that's fine. But me and if I end up with someone, it's not no what I say goes. That's not what it is. It's a partnership. I think that if we're going to speak on just the culture and the literature, then I think that's a great thing to go off of, because it's a collective. We both have a collective foundation.
Right.
We have it's kind of like if you're at a job, you have rules, you have things that take place to where it's a standard that we go by.
Right.
And we use that standard for the basis of operation of work.
Right.
So anything else outside of that, then that is worth compromising. Anything that's within that standard of that job, hence that foundational structure within like those that follow the culture, that is not worth compromising. You can't compromise that. That's set.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Just like if you at work, you have set rules. That's
Right.
There's no compromising that. But things that's outside, that's not big, that's not major. Something like, hey, I want to move out west. Okay, well, I want to move out south. Well, I feel that this is why it's better for us to move out west. This is why y'all just going back and forth about that. You talking about work, you talking about school, you talking about job, you talking about the children, putting all these factors in. But the man really wants to stay here, and really feels this is the place, and this is what I have to do. But then the woman said, no, this is better for the children. This is better for everything collectively. Then that is something that he can compromise. He can lose 45 minutes of driving to work. Like, okay, you know what? I got to chalk that up. That's nothing major. But if
but how many people are willing to do that though? I mean, I think that's.
It's not.
I think people be getting to the nitty gritty. They be having that example, and they use that example to rule the entire household in general. Like I've heard people say. I actually heard somebody say one time, and it made my stomach hurt. They said that in a situation where there is an issue. Okay, so we know for those, whatever, talking about the Torah or whatever, like there's, like you said, foundational things that if we say we believe, we're going to at least be able to look at it and be able to determine how we should move in that particular situation. But in this situation, the person said that a woman is not, she's not a credible witness, basically. Like, so I guess, I'm not sure the exact circumstances around what was going on, but this person said that, a woman can't be a witness against something that happened. So you have all these different other, I guess, doctrinal things that ain't necessarily, I guess it's up for debate. I ain't gonna say what people believe and whether or not it's wrong or not. So, whatever. I don't care. But I'm just saying people kind of use that. They take that and they run it all the way down to a situation where you're trying to figure out, like you said, they trying to figure out where to move. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's like, well, where should we move? And they said, well, the man has the ultimate decision in that situation. And so, and again, like I think too that it takes a certain type of leadership or wisdom to even be in a relationship to begin with, to understand that when you enter into a relationship, it ain't about what you want, because again, if it's about what you want, why are you even in a relationship? Like, you have a lot of liberty. You have a lot of liberty being single. I can pretty much do whatever I want to do. I don't gotta ask nobody nothing. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
But even in that situation, even in my singleness, I'm still bound by the Torah, though. You know what I'm saying? So, like, going back to your foundational things, but so then you wonder, when you get into a relationship or you seeking that kind of union, are people even really ready to have those conversations about what's going to happen? So I think that also brings up the things we've been talking about over the past few weeks about getting to know people before you even get into that situations where you would have those conversations right now. Like you said, if you are courting a young lady, or not even courting, maybe you before that period, and you asking her, maybe y'all, like you said, you live out west, you live out south, and you like, let's just say this progresses. Or what do you feel about the west side? Like, you think it's ratchet, for example? Right. No.
Right.
Nobody thinks that about the west side, but I'm just saying
hey.
I'm just kidding. I'm just.
You're a south side person, or what?
Yeah, south side. I'm a south side baby.
That's why you're talking like that. Okay. I'm out west.
All right.
Let's change the subject.
Right. Oh, boy.
No, but I think that's why it goes back into what we've been talking about over the past weeks or a couple months. We've been doing this. It's maturity, that's a factor. It's wisdom, that's a factor. It's going into what you were talking about with the people that say, they're not a witness. Oh, I don't even know where they get that from.
Yeah.
It ain't Torah. That ain't Tanakh.
It's not Torah. I think it's some of the other books, because I've seen that kind of trend. So that's what I'm saying. Like, not trying to throw shade on nobody's beliefs, but I'm just saying that's what I be hearing. I understand why they think that.
I understand a lot of things of why people think. I understand why Jehovah's Witnesses believe that if you believe in the New Testament or believe in Jesus, that Jesus is the Archangel Michael.
Oh yeah, I've heard that.
So
Yeah.
I understand why a lot of people believe what their doctrine is
Yeah.
based off of what's been fed to them, based off of what they see when they just read it versus looking at context, culture,
Right.
and consistency. So it's okay to understand
Yeah.
what they believe, you know what I'm saying? But their belief has flaws.
Right.
A lot of people believe it has flaws, you know, but the thing,
Right.
are you going to try to dive deep into it to figure it out what the actual message really was? So
Yeah.
I only responded to that because of what you said, but as
Oh
far as
yeah.
what I've came to, because you mentioned this a while ago, like I think you said something about casting us. I feel
Yeah, I
like
did that.
I feel like
Yeah.
that's like one of the, if not the best. Matter of fact, hold on. I want to read something.
Yep. Yep.
I'm about to read something. Hold on one second. Uh, I'm gonna show you because some people be like, oh, hey, casting lots. That's this and that. That ain't in the Bible. Okay, let me show you.
Mm.
Give me a second. I'm gonna show you two instances. All right, casting lots. So you got Proverbs 16:33, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It says, the lot is cast into the lap, but it's every decision is from the Most High, from Yah or from the Lord. So it's every decision is from the Lord. Then you got Proverbs 18:18 that says, the lot puts an end to quarrels and decides between powerful contenders.
Mm.
So it puts an end to a why because you all are battling back and forth. Y'all can't figure it out. Even
Yeah.
if some people say, oh, well, I just pray to God and he's going to answer. Man, look, I believe in that wholeheartedly, but at the same time, he's giving you
Right. Ways.
methods to do it.
Right.
And letting you know through this method and through prayer as well, this method should be the best thing after prayer. Prayer comes first, then you'll cast lots. And I'm going to show you and prove to you what I mean. So you're allowing this casting of lots to be the answer, but it's going through the Most High because half the time y'all going to keep battling. One of y'all just going to literally give in, going to resent. But if you both have an agreement that this is from our divine source and what this says goes, now you can't resent the person. You both are agreed on this, so he or she does not have a say so in this casting of lots.
Mm.
End up you resenting the Most High versus resenting your partner. Here's the last one.
Right.
The last one is those that believe in the New Testament that believe Kadashah. You have Acts chapter 1, 23 to 26. And it says, and they put forward two, Joseph called Barsabas, who also called Justus, and Matthias. And they prayed and said, you, Lord, who know the hearts of all, show which one of these two you have chosen to take the place in this ministry and apostleship from which Judas turned aside to go to his own place. So that was a prayer. They prayed together about the matter. They could not figure out themselves. And they cast, so that was just me. I was just talking at that point. I'm about to finish reading. And they cast lots for them. And the lot fell on Matthias, and he was numbered with the 11 apostles. So through that casting of lots, that made a decision. They did not back away from it. They let that pick it. Now, if it was a fail in the future, there's many reasons as to why I could have. You know what I'm saying? But you still sticking your ground with that casting of lots because y'all couldn't figure it out. So one of the things I said, the prayer is what sets a difference. Because I'll put this in my little notes, y'all. Rather than, like, if you think of paper, rock, scissors, people say, well, that's just like paper, rock, scissors, or quarters, whatever. The difference is that you put a prayer into it and you ask the Most High Yah, God, or however y'all want to say, to intervene within this casting of lots. And that goes within the Proverbs 16:33 that the Most High, through the literature, according to the literature, said to do. And Proverbs 18, kind of advise you to do as well. So this is just a solution. Because I know we always talk about when we talk about these things, we want to put solution. This is a great solution when it comes to compromise. So that's what I got right now so far.
Yep. And I'm gonna read some of the people are trying to get on. They said they one person was having a hard time getting on, but I just sent her the link. So I'm gonna read the comments so far on the live. So Isaiah said, deep conversation. I feel compromise is interesting. I feel it starts with both parties speaking on ideas first and sticking to understand each other first. Then he said, how about both separate yield? I don't know. Yield to what is best for the two coming together to be one, instead of looking at it as one person losing to the other. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, the only problem with that
is, I'm sorry.
No, you good. I'm about to say the only problem with that is I think whoever said it, that's facts, right? I believe that to be true. Here's the biggest problem, y'all. Our maturity sucks.
Right.
As adults too. We
Yeah.
get on children. No, we basically like children. Our maturity sucks when it comes to things that we want.
Right.
We want what we want. And that's what sucks. We don't really know how to be echad, united, how to build. We have to look at it, Mike, and I know I heard pastors and people talk against what I'm about to say, but at the end of the day, you have to look at your relationship like a business arrangement to a certain extent. What's the betterment for both of you? That's not saying y'all don't love each other or things of that nature, but you have to figure out a way to survive and to succeed and to thrive. And you're not going to survive, succeed, or thrive if you cannot compromise to a commonality, a common understanding of what you both need. And you can't get that way, honestly, if you're not mature.
Right.
If you're not mature.
Yeah, being mature, and also having those conversations like in the beginning about, even have the conversation about, if we don't agree, what are we gonna do? I mean, that should be up front. You know what I'm saying? And
cast and lots.
Right. Yeah. No, I know. I believe in cast. I think cast and lots is the way to go. All the time. And then that way, like I said, you don't. Now it's not. Oh, even if you don't cast lots, I'm saying, even if you just follow some standard of how to operate, like in the end, if things go wrong, you both can refer to what you all agreed to in the beginning. And I think that goes back to not really considering the whole thing before you jump into something. Not considering if you're not ready for it, or if you're not ready to give up these different things. And I'm just saying that on a secular level.
Mm-hmm.
That's really promoted. Like, there's not a lot of thinking through anything. It's instant gratification. And then when you realize, oh, this ain't what I thought it was, or whatever, then it's now it's a problem. But like you said, with a business, and a lot of people will probably cringe with you relating marriage or a relationship with a business, but it is a business. It is a business. I mean, not in a business.
What's a covenant? What's a covenant?
Right. Contract.
A contract.
Right.
That's what a covenant is.
Right.
If we start really looking at how it was set forth and how it was put in place, we're going to understand that United States and most places around the world, they operate honestly through the Tanakh or through the Torah.
Right.
They don't do it to the T all the time and all that, but they base their foundation off of a lot of things. Maybe not all, but a lot of things based off of the Torah. And when it comes to a lot of businesses, it is structured, it's contracts involved. That's where contracts come from. So when you get married or you get into a covenant, it's a contract. So if you're not going to do it like a business, then what's the purpose of the contract?
Right.
When the Most High did what he did, or did what it did, or whatever y'all want to say, to Israel, Israel, it was things he put in place, before they went forward. In marriage, it was things put in place before it went forward. That's what a lot of us failed at. That's what I failed at.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, me too.
This is just my thoughts.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm right or I'm wrong, but I know for me, I'm right. I might not be right for y'all, but I know for me, yes.
Yeah.
Tell me, man.
Yeah. So what would you say to somebody who was like in a situation right now where it's let's say just say that there's a situation that is not like life or death, but that's just let's move somewhere, or like a conversation like you said earlier, example you said earlier, and there's resistance on either part to that. You know what I'm saying? I wonder how, like, how would they work out that without it being the end of the world, the end of the marriage, the end of the relationship? Is there proper rules in which to continue on past something that can't be compromised on? I guess that's the question.
But before I answer that, I just want to say that I'm not moving the love out the picture, y'all. Okay, so I think that if you really love the person that you're with, that's going to actually also help with the compromising, right? But if it's something like you just said that's not major,
Right.
and you say you all can't agree,
Yeah, but it's like causing a problem. So it's something like, should I move out west or stay on the south side? Like, that's not a big deal. But what if it's something that is a stall? Is it called a stalemate? To stall something where people are just like
stalemate. Yeah,
stalemate. Thank you. They just sitting there like, I ain't moving. You know.
that depends on the people. Like I said, you can have, like, for me, I use me an example. If I was with someone and say we were deciding to go out west or out south, and the one that she wanted was benefiting her as far as, and here's the thing, you got to stop looking at it like benefiting that person. You got to look at it like, okay, maybe what they're saying, they're thinking that it can benefit both of us collectively. That's one.
Right.
But just going forward, just say benefiting her, like meaning it's closer to where she works, then it's closer to the children and all that stuff too. School and things of that nature. Everything that they need is closer in that area. That man, woman, but that man, I'm speaking from a man point of view, needs to look at all of that. Just because his job might be in, I don't know, Lombard,
Yeah.
or something, which is like 45 minutes away from the city, I think. And he's like, okay, if I move further out south, that's going to give me an extra 20 minutes. You know, I might have to go down, traffic or whatever going to work. What's the ultimate goal?
Right.
We got to look at what's the ultimate goal for the family or for the union or for the partnership. That's what's not being looked at. I believe if we get headstrong on that, then it becomes more about self versus everyone. And I think, watch this, the man talking about they have the last say so, according to what you said, then guess what? The man's supposed to take that extra boatload too there. You take
theoretically.
take that extra 25, 30-minute drive and back and forth or whatever for your family, since you are the head honcho, as they were saying.
Right, yeah.
So I mean, it all boils down to, in my opinion, it boils down to the people, how they operate individually, the woman and the man. Because like you said, there's different scenarios, there's different personalities. So I can't give you from a solid answer. All I can give you is what I would advise.
Right. And I think too that kind of mindset, because if it is a situation where it's selfishness going on, that working in that, like being strategic. So even if you are like, I fulfill this role in a relationship, and this is what I believe in, and I'm sticking to it. Even being strategic in your leadership can allow more freedom later on, you know what I'm saying, or more leverage, or more, like we was talking earlier about what was he talking? Oh, we was talking about Joseph, right? I was reading about him earlier, and that's, he was obviously a slave, but he ended up through that horrible situation where he was kind of forced to humble down and be nothing. He ended up having access to his entire master's house, you know what I'm saying, through that. So that's probably a weird example, but I'm just thinking about like, that's not the best situation for you to be in. Like Joseph was not necessarily in the best situation ever, but because he was in a situation where he had to be humble, he ended up getting more out that situation and more room to more power. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I definitely think that selfishness is at the core of not being able to compromise. Or selfishness is it rules in relationships, period. So you can't even get to the point where compromising is even an option, because you're going into it as an individual still, and that can't continue.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Did anybody? I'm trying to go on to see if anyone had like any
So
thing to add or anything to say.
that was it from all I had from what they had. I'm not sure if the sister that wanted to join, I'm not sure if she's able to get on now, but I texted her back and showed her how to get on. So I'm not
We
sure.
got an attendee. Who is Zay Israel?
Oh, that's Isaiah. Where you see that? Okay.
Oh, I went to the attendee. I didn't know if he was
Oh, I need to pay attention. Okay, hold on. I'll just promote him to.
okay.
Oh, here we go.
Work being in this.
Okay, here we go.
Oh, he just said something too. Oh, there he is.
Oh, my bad.
He
Sorry
been
about that.
sitting chilling the whole time. Wait.
I'm sorry. Hey, can you hear us?
I can.
Okay, you sound low.
No, I get it. I am.
Okay,
Is that better?
that's better.
Okay. Hello, everyone.
What's
Hey.
going on?
Hey, I was just chilling. I didn't even know I was in here yet. Dang. So, I guess I'll start off where y'all left off at.
Mm-hmm.
The last thing I heard, it kind of went out for a quick second, but the last thing I heard was Tamar talking about being selfish and individuals in a relationship. So that's interesting. I think the ideal, I guess, moving forward would be shedding that ideal of being an individual. We all, I guess, come to agreement that first communication and thinking about the greater good, having I believe it's pronounced utilitarian understanding to the relationship would be I guess, the ideal way to kind of run things as far as compromise is concerned. Um, I think that all starts with removing the ideal of being an individual. I know a lot of people go into relationships thinking it's cool or thinking it's a good ideal to think of themselves as together, but maintain a sense of individuality, which I don't think that's overall a bad idea. But
Right.
in times of compromise, you have to be able to flee from that thought and operate from a standpoint of
Right.
um, we're coming together or we are one.
That's right.
So I guess y'all gonna take the floor back. That was just something that the last thing I really heard.
Now, what you said something about. So I guess being an individual does not work. Being an
Yeah, that's what I was going to
okay.
type in what I just basically stated. But y'all had brung me into the conversation.
Okay.
Um, what I was saying on the live thing, I know it came out a little typo-ish, but
Oh, we got somebody. My bad, Aki.
Oh,
Somebody.
did she? Oh, she on there. Okay, this is Eureka.
Yeah.
She's trying to get on. Okay.
Go ahead, Aki. My bad.
okay. Peace, sister. I don't know if she on yet, but if she can hear me.
I think she left. She was just on.
Yeah, she said she was trying to get on, but
Oh,
here
that's
she's on.
okay.
She's having some problems.
Okay.
Eureka, can you hear us?
Her mic is muted.
We probably got to unmute the mic. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you hear us, Eureka?
I hear her. Yeah, I hear her.
Oh, y'all can hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Be quiet, second. What's the mute? There's too much going on.
Oh, you sound kind of far away.
I had to use. Oh, not really. I had to use my computer. I had to use my computer because my phone was taking too long. And I got like 20 minutes before we start
Oh,
arguing.
my bad. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, but could you guys start like what 12 and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, 12
my time.
12 your time.
Yeah, okay, all right. Yeah, I try to, be there. I don't know if I could be a panelist, because I don't want to have to dip out all the time. No, your sister girl got a million hats.
I know.
Do I know Sister Eureka?
Hey, young brother.
Jacob was her husband.
Hey,
Grace and peace, sister, to the family as well.
Happy birthday, brother Isaiah. I'll be late.
oh yeah. Happy birthday.
Hey, how y'all doing? Praise
Hey.
be to Jesus.
Hey, Jacob.
Shalom.
Hey, I hear y'all. Y'all go ahead and do y'all thing.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I told her about brother Shaman, right?
Shema, yeah,
Shaman.
definitely.
Well, I gotta get that right.
Yeah, real. Nice to meet you, bro. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. Shalom, shalom.
Yeah. Yep. Okay, well, I'm gonna mute it, and we're gonna be listening and everything.
Yeah.
We need platforms like this, so.
Man, please share it. Let's get more people involved. We need this.
I sure will.
Definitely.
I certainly will.
Yeah, real.
Right now.
Not to take over y'all thing, anything like that, but we planning a singles to family seminar coming up in June. And we want to kind of get a panel thing going in there for some of the events in there. So just kind of give you a heads up.
Okay, yeah. Keep us posted. We'll definitely promote.
Yeah. We'd like to bring in singles, married, kind of address the whole rest.
Okay.
Where will it be? If it's just online, or is it in a certain location, or what?
Well, you know what? We're gonna do it online. I got a brother. We might be able to do it in Chicago. So after tomorrow, I'll know whether we're gonna be strictly online or whether we're gonna have a physical location where everybody can come. So.
Okay, cool.
Okay, I could travel to Chicago. I could do it. I could come.
Hey, I live in Chicago area. Come on now. Like 30.
Okay, all right, dude.
Definitely.
Okay.
I'm about
Okay.
to,
Go ahead. Y'all good.
We muted.
Okay. All right, love y'all.
Love you too.
all right.
I love y'all.
Peace, y'all.
So what's your take on that, Isaiah? Like what do you when it comes to compromising? Like, is it a negative thing? Is it a positive thing?
Okay, so this is interesting, right? If you don't mind, I gotta segue a little bit. This is just a conversation I was having with a friend of mine out here, kind of dealing with the start of a relationship, and I think, in its broad sense, compromise can fit in each of those categories, being negative, positive, good for the relationship, and bad.
Okay.
That's why I was saying it comes with both parties, I guess, as individuals speaking on those things that either they're for or against, then being or having enough understanding to say, okay, since we're moving forward in this way, what's the best ideal to kind of come together? So what's the overall arcing sense of happiness for us as a nucleus, us as single entities? So I think when it comes to compromise, depending on what it is, it can be good and beneficial, but some things just wrong. So are not wrong. I'm sorry, can have a negative effect. Perfect example. Y'all started off talking about this conversation branching off from one of a spiritual or religious aspect.
Mm-hmm.
And especially dealing with the walk that I guess we tend to deal with, or maybe others in all spectrums. Religious and spirituality issues are spiritual issues, I'm sorry, are kind of one of the more prevalent, aside from financials, that are big factors in relationships.
Mm-hmm.
During the conversation me and a young lady was having, I was explaining my spiritual and religious preference. I would want to seek a relationship with a person who fit both of those paradigms. And that's something that I'm not willing to compromise with.
Right.
She was saying, well, if you love somebody, that would make you think differently. And I was saying, although we may love people,
Right.
sometimes love or loving someone doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be in a relationship with them outside of a friendship. We love a lot of people. Matter of fact,
That's right.
Kind of show love first, right? But that don't mean that I need to be involved with you in that way to love you. So we was kind of hashing that out, and she kind of thought it was a little irrational to kind of put a preference on a spiritual view And then I was saying, I kind of verbatimly quoted something out the book that says, can two walk together unless they agree?
You agree.
Overall, yeah, we can have different, paradigms and understanding and kind of find some common ground in between. But when you're talking about something as big as creating a home, raising a family,
That's right.
opening that doorway up to not only yourself, but even possibility of children and the even other spectrums that are, kind of now grafted in or pulled in like a magnet to what you guys have going on. That has to be some that foundation that we talked about before. That kind of has to be built to a certain integrity. And I've seen foundations that weren't built or kind of overlooked that understanding of spirituality and wound up not standing as strong, So
Wow. That's man. Wow. That's why that's why I'm glad I got. Well, I'm glad we have multiple people on this that want to come on and speak, because me and Tamar, we only want two people, and just hearing other people, it just helps. Um, just based off what you said, that not compromising your journey, your walk. Perhaps you can even say your culture. Like, that's how I speak. That's what I say, right? That is like what I was speaking of what you about earlier, Tamar. When you have a job has its set way of life within that company. So this company, this is the way of life. I'm gonna give a perfect example. Um, I was working at a company called Sharon Williams. Some of you might know. And
Oh yeah, the paint people.
right.
Oh yeah.
He said
Okay.
the paint people.
Cause they got them down here too. It's more up the street from me. My bad.
So it was in the beginning of, they had a different couple courses or classes or whatnot, and there was some new people coming in, and our manager at the time, he was like the manager over the whole facility. He got fired, by the way, because of how he used to talk to people. But he used to basically call people stupid because they didn't know how to function or do a certain job at this warehouse. But you had people who worked at warehouses for like 15 years.
Right.
I was saying, every warehouse don't operate this way. You want something set this way, but this one doesn't do it this way over here. So it's like, when you have this set rule here, that does not necessarily mean that it's going to happen on this side. So with what the brother said, what Isaiah was speaking on, not giving in, not compromising on here, it's good that he does it, because, and I agree with that. I think all of us should, because when you bring someone in that just don't operate in that light,
right,
you're going to have these, I was talking to, I think I mentioned with you all about who I was courting a few months ago. And just recently, she contacted me again and wanted to talk, and we spoke again. And when we spoke, she wanted me to really go into detail as to what it is, my belief, my journey. And when I was explaining it to her, she basically said she doesn't have a journey. And I think that can be a positive, and it can be a negative. The positive to me is if it's someone that is seeking and wanting to grow and has a desire to learn X, Y, and Z, not that I'm going to be the teacher, but just to learn about themselves and learn about the creative things of that nature, and that's the positive. But if it's someone that is not showing that interest, that just living, and then you have someone that does have a certain walk, a certain way that they operate within whatever culture they believe, it can hinder them in their growth. So that is an example. That's why I said I'm glad the way Brother Isaiah brought that up. That's a perfect example of not compromising. I cannot compromise that because I've compromised that in the past. Not from a standpoint of putting them over the Most High, but some will argue and say, yes, you did. But more so, you gave into certain aspects. You I can't go into detail. I can, but it'll be long-winded. So even longer-winded than I am right now. But I'm with the brother. I can't do that. I would never advise anybody to do that. I used to say, hey, well, you know, as long as this person shows you respect and loyalty, you know, then the other stuff will come. Man, I'm not even for that no more.
Yeah. And I'm glad you said that. I was gonna actually ask that question because we was kind of going that way anyway, like about you know, if you met somebody, I'm saying male or female, you met somebody and they don't, you already know they don't believe how you believe. Like maybe there's an inkling, but they don't like you said, Shema, about you more like you even feel like you don't you're even more into it than most people around you. You know what I'm saying? As far as like levels of not just belief, but like actually doing it. You know what I'm saying? So I was gonna ask the question about it, you know, as far as compromise is concerned, is it even appropriate to compromise? Because I know people who have done that, who have met somebody and was like, yeah, but you know, I'm gonna teach this person, or I'm going to, you know, they say they're gonna basically the person that they are interested in is new. The person I'm gonna use myself because I don't have no diagrams, but you got like I would say let's say it's me, right? Yeah. I feel like I'm rooted in this thing and I'm continuing to learn. I'm not like I don't know everything, but I'm like trying to really implement Leviticus 15 with the cleanliness laws. You know what I'm saying? So you have 15, right? I think that's right. Anyway, but I'm actually doing it, whatever, and then I meet somebody and they may. I'm just going to be much more creative with the example. They might keep the Sabbath and they might go to class, other stuff, but they still don't have not been into the implementation aspect of it, even from that standpoint. So yeah, we agree, we believe, there's different levels to it. Is it okay for me to then say, well, you know, eventually they'll get to where I am, or you know what I'm saying, which is the level of compromising on my part and also on the person's part as well, because they might really think that they're gonna come and be in full agreement at some point. I just feel like that's never worked in my personal experience, but I wonder who out there has done that. Like I'm pretty sure there's stories of people who didn't necessarily agree at the same time, but eventually they both came on the same page. I just wonder, like, is it worth the cost and the headache to even see?
Man, my answer to that real short, and I'm gonna let Isaiah take over, man, is it is very rare.
Okay.
It can happen.
Right, yeah.
But with today's society and the conditioning and the influence, even within our community, outside our community, it is going to be hard. I mean, you can have as much faith as you want. People say, well, have faith, pray. Look, prayer has to go on the other end as well, especially if you're praying for another individual. That other individual has to be sincere and dedicated and has integrity going towards whatever you're praying for. Whenever you look at the Tanakh and them was talking about pray for me, most times they ask them, are you repenting? What are you praying for? The X, Y, and Z. It wasn't just one-sided. So, and y'all could correct me if I'm wrong, Brother Isaiah, correct me if I'm wrong. Sister Eureka, your husband, if y'all listening, correct me if I'm wrong. But from my studies over these years, that I see is both sides. And we could go even in the New Testament when Jesus or Yeshua or Yahusha or Yehoshua or Yahushua, whoever you want to call him, when he used to do a miracle, he always had them do something first.
Right.
Go grab this mud and put it on your eye.
You sure did. That's a good point. Yeah.
Their faith was from their doing. Most people's faith in the I don't even like saying Old Testament, but it was from their doing. Right. So if I'm praying for someone or hoping that something could change, that other person needs to do something. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I've never seen it other than that. So with that being said, I know I said I was going to give you a short answer. That's very rare. And I wouldn't even, from my experiences, my past 2 experiences, I had 2 experiences since I've been in this. And it has not went well by me doing that compromising.
Yeah.
Wow.
I said a lot.
No, man. I'm going to kind of answer Tamar's question as well. I think that's when that individual's patience, ability to endure and be long suffering is greatly tested.
True.
Which person? The person that's more rooted in the thing, or?
Yeah, because that would be the person doing the compromising in that case.
Yeah.
Or more of the compromising.
More compromise, right?
I don't want to take nothing from anyone or anything. But in that scenario, I would presume that would be where the most changes, because that's a stronger rooted person, where the most changes will have to be made.
Right,
so I wouldn't go and say that it can't be done. I will kind of double down on what Shema said as far as it difficult to be done. I wanted to double back on something Shema mentioned a little earlier when he was talking about the job aspect. Looking at it from a job aspect, as far as he talked about the warehouse and how they may do it this way at this warehouse, but at other warehouses things were done a little differently. You kind of spoke on the culture, but that's actually a topic that is used a lot, even in interviews, which is job culture and how you relate. And this is why, although the courting process may be difficult, as we were just talking, and things are a little rough sometimes, it's a beautiful thing about it, because during that courting process, this is when you find these things out. This is where you see how things kind of work, and it's a beautiful situation, depending on how you look at it. Stressful, but beautiful, what I'm saying. For instance, I've been on a few job interviews, and that's one of my first questions I ask: how do I fit the job culture, or what is the culture of this job, first of all, and how do I fit based off of this sit down? And that's kind of something you have to ask. That's kind of something you have to ask your partner, or that person that you're pursuing a relationship with. How do we fit in the ideal or this culture that we're trying to create? And how do we fit coming into it now? And how do it fit us overall? So it's a little difficult. I can tell you a quick story, kind of just segueing into that. Me coming into this truth, what we perceive or what we call the truth of this culture or this understanding. When I first found out about it, I was a little bit everywhere, all over the place, kind of seeking and searching. And I was in a relationship, and I moved a little funny in the beginning. I was very, you kind of learn these things. You get real zealous. And I was in a relationship, a young relationship at that point, but I was in a relationship, and I kind of, what I like to use the terminology, just so you could get an image of my actions, which I'm not saying they were right, but I kind of put the young lady in a headlock and dragged her into this thing.
You was like, cotton.
Headlock and all, just full Nelson wrapped around, you are coming.
Wow.
At first there was a lot of resistance. There was a lot of pushback. And, over time things begin to change. But I will say this, that is probably not a good way to kind of introduce people into this thing that you're learning yourself. But I began to change what my standards were. And instead of allowing her to be herself within that, I kind of, where I guess in a sense she compromised in that sense to kind of, deal with things and deal with my brashness. And over time it began to, mold and work out. But that understanding the culture that you guys are trying to create is a good thing to talk about within that courting phase. You can kind of get in the sense of where you guys want to go. So, that's another thing bringing up that should be brought up, as soon as possible when dating, because it's one of those situations where you can kind of see, okay, this is what that journey is. Like that sister said to you, Shema, she didn't have no journey.
Yeah.
I think she said that without thinking about life overall, because I find that hard to believe that there isn't anything that remotely interests you that is life, because that's in a sense what your journey is, finding those things out and kind of operating through them. So maybe she couldn't fully express through words, but if someone said that to me, that would be very alarming, which would give me which would give me an understanding that I might not want to pursue anything deeper or greater with that person.
That's what took place. but understand this. I know I'm interrupting. I'm just give me 15 seconds. Hopefully, I said hopefully. I operated in wisdom. You know, it wasn't just no cutoff. You know, if it was a scenario like someone that was just not as learned, I hate saying that because that's bad negative connotation in our community, but someone that just don't have as much knowledge as I might have, whatever knowledge I have, I don't just kick you. You know, I don't suggest that anybody kick them to the curb. If there's someone willing to learn, want to learn, desire to be a part, hey, heck yeah. But she just wasn't that.
Right.
She literally was not that.
So, I mean, and I can bring up another situation where there was not similar, but where, as Tamar says, pay attention to what those flags are, those red flags.
Yeah.
They just pop up early. But I was in a situation with a person where relationship-wise, because we had known each other for a good time, we found a lot of things that we kind of agreed upon. And this is, I guess, putting that same situation as far as compromise on the table. But as you know, things persisted and when they started getting into deeper conversation on certain things, you could kind of see there were clearly things that weren't going to keep us afloat for too long. You know, we was hitting into those hard press issues. We was getting into, I guess, what you would call serious conversations. And
right.
There were key things as far as faith, religion, understanding of life, how, you know, daily activity of life should be ran. And overall, this person was a great person, still is today.
Mm-hmm.
But those things kind of interfered and those flags kind of popped up and we got an idea that, you know, a relationship was not the best
right.
option. And I mean, I guess it happens both ways sometimes, but the more upfront you are, and I guess the more you see things kind of set you up for that. So I guess certain compromise, I guess is better understood once you have that foundation set, then it's easier to build compromise, but there needs to be a foundation built. And a lot of times we forget that aspect. We don't focus enough on making sure or ensuring that the foundation is built with a good rock. I mean,
right. Right. And I think too, even in those situations where a person that has a foundational belief, they don't consider the negative impact that could have on the other person who, you know, may not just be ready for it. And then it might end up, you know, not that you are in control of somebody's destiny or how you think about Most High, you know what I'm saying? But you do a lot of damage and, like you said, putting people in headlocks, you know what I'm saying? Or trying to make it so that they, in order to be with you, they have to have that, you know, they have to be in it, you know what I'm saying? Because I've seen that happen too, where people have, you know, chasing somebody into the word or whatever, and they end up hating the whole thing, you know what I'm saying? Coming to Sabbath class with attitude and like be in the background rolling their ass and all types of stuff be going on. So you do more damage. You do more damage that way when you not, and also they end up resenting you. And so going back to kind of the original conversation we were talking about, for two people who are on the same foundational path, having it where one person can't voice their concerns it's only going to cause resentment. If the goal is to become one, if you believe in that, or to even just like you said, Shamar, this is a business. If the goal is for us to be business partners, they don't even fly in the secular world where one partner, even if it's something where one person owns 55% of the company and another person owns 45% of the company, it's not that the one person don't get a chance to have their input considered in that situation. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that that's facts. I think that to go into a solution, and I don't say facts a lot, so
Facts.
I just want to really put that out there. I think I did. That's why I'm letting y'all know that I don't. So if I say it, that means I really agree with what you said. I think it's no way around it. I think that for a solution for those that are with someone, well, actually, no. Before you be with someone, I think you have to deal with what Isaiah was speaking of, and kind of you as well. I think that foundation needs to be the pinnacle, like has to be the thing that is on top. That way you will pick the proper person. I think a lot of reasons why we're having these problems, and I know that people say, in relationship, you're going to have arguments, disagreements where you're going to have to compromise. I've actually ran across a couple. They could have been lying to me now. They could have been lying to me. To what they literally, throughout their relationship, they did not have anything major as far as major disagreements or arguments or things of that nature. And I believe that could be possible. I know that women and men are different, but I believe that if you can actually find a partner that is on that same journey, has that same foundation, because guess what? The foundation ain't there. Everything gonna fall. Think of an apartment, think of a house, think of a building.
Right.
That foundation is not there, it's gonna fall.
Right.
So if you find someone, and I used to think that this unequally yoked thing it was so many different variables to that, which it kind of is.
Yeah.
But I think for the most part, it's cut dry. You need to be equally yoked. You do. Unless you gotta be, I think you have to be equally yoked, or say if you're a woman or a man, I'm just gonna speak from a man point of view because I'm a man. You're very strong in your journey, and the woman that is with you might not be as strong, and let's just say she's not even really fully a part of your journey, but she implements or she adds to it. She's still a part of it. The best example I could use is I would love to see how Moshe's wife was.
Right.
I would love to see how Yosef's wife was.
Right.
Because these were, according to the literature that we hold fast to, was prominent figures in our community.
Right.
So I would love to see, and I got one example of Moshe's wife. So that lets me know that it doesn't speak from what I've read. So I don't speak a lot about her, but for her to know this, have this knowledge of what needs to be done, it lets me know she was a part of it.
Right.
And she was holding him accountable to what he was supposed to know.
You're right.
So that example to me shows me that you have to be with someone. You don't have to be. You can do what you want. I have to be with someone that is on my journey. I have to, man, because I can't fail again. And I'm the type of person that tell you that I failed, even if I wasn't the reason behind it. I'm quote unquote, and I'm not saying I'm not the reason behind it. I'm just saying I'm that type of person that still would, even if I wasn't, say that I failed because I was a part of something that should have succeeded. So.
Yeah, I have a question about the you said accountability. So then I was wondering about, like, does compromising, okay, man and woman, right? So you're a man, obviously. A man, not compromising with his wife. Do you think that allows for him not to be held accountable. Like I just wonder about like with Moshe. Let's just say he was like, "Shut up! we're gonna do what I want to do. You don't really have a say." And when you read that part of the story, it says that the Most High was gonna get ready to kill him. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I just wonder about like if I wonder about the negative, the harmful aspects of not being able to compromise. Like how deep can this go as far as poisoning the foundation, even? You know what I'm saying? Like, because there got to be some type of balance. You know what I'm saying? And have somebody, like I said, to hold you accountable. So I wonder about that too. Is just something to put out there, because it's not an either or. I think it's you have to get it done. You have to find a way. And like I know of a couple where the husband wanted to make a drastic move and the wife wasn't really with it, and he was finna divorce her. Like he told me he was gonna divorce her off of it. So they ended up moving, but I was like,
So
that's an extreme. That's another extreme, and that's an extreme thing.
You're having some extreme stories, you know that?
I do, because people always tell me their business. If people stop telling me their business, hello everybody. Yeah, people tell me their business all the time. I would never say names, but people tell me stuff and it make me wonder, like, and that be why I don't even want to be married. I'd be like, why would I be married?
I promise.
You know what I'm saying? Why would I want to be married and be under bondage if I can't even have a voice? I can't even have a voice. Like, how is that? What's liberating about that?
right. So just to touch on the actual question part that you asked.
Oh yeah, yes, I did.
That's deep. Wow. I definitely I don't understand it. We keep bringing up the situation with Moses and his.
Yes.
We can see where she was spiritually aware enough to know that he was going to be removed if he didn't do what he was supposed to do. I don't get a situation where if you're coming into a covenant agreement, a contract with another entity, taking them on as your other half, where you don't think they will position themselves to have best or a good judgment on how to handle a situation.
Right.
You two as a group, or you two plus whatever else is in the conversation. So first of all, we were talking about basically picking them and how to pick them. I would presume that a quote unquote wise man, righteous man, will pick someone that's going to ideally make good foundational choices for them.
Right. Right.
Woman
I definitely wasn't wise then, brother. I wasn't wise.
I mean, at times we all move a little silly.
Yeah, we all do.
Sure.
The overall point that I'm trying to make is coming from a standpoint that we're coming from spiritually, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ideally, if you're going to take, I'm speaking from a man's perspective, so I apologize if I preference it this way. But if you're going to take a woman to be your wife or your other half, right? Ideally, you will want her to have a little level of knowledge. As we see with Moses, his wife had some knowledge to understand that, he needed to do what he needed to do. And she,
Right.
like you said, held him accountable because I believe the narrative goes, she threw it at his feet. To me, I can kind of see a nice sister, like, now what we gonna do about that? With a little bit of head movement,
Right.
neck movement involved. But the point that I'm trying to make, without being too much more long-winded, is I don't understand how you can stifle your partner's voice in a situation where you put them to, I guess, offer their experiences based off of wisdom. And if you put them there and they're not able to do that, then you have to question yourself as to why they're there. Looking at a sense of compromise,
Okay.
Now we're talking about the brother and sister that wanted to move, whatever, and the brother wanted to divorce her. I guess because he felt she wasn't yielding to his sense of authority. But as y'all mentioned earlier, moves are pretty big things. There's a lot that's involved.
Yeah.
So what if she had enough hindsight to go and look as far as what that would do for that nucleus if they did move, as far as finding employment or finding a good living situation or finding an area where the crime rate was low or understanding certain things about that crime rate that might identify to certain people and not others, right? Let's say a town is more racist than something else.
Right.
So ideally you will want to listen to that other person's hindrance in the moving forward. If it's just a sense of fear, then yeah, you can kind of put that in a separate compartment. But what's the reasons why? Which is what Shema was talking earlier, when that level of communication comes in. Because I don't think there's no such thing as good compromise without communication being at the frontmost position of it. So we have to have spoken about and agreed upon. I don't think any relationship should, or any people operating within a relationship should kind of move and make all of the decisions for that relationship without including both or that other person's considerations.
Right. And I think that situation was about, she was fearful. I think she was just like concerned or whatever. But yeah, so, yeah, I don't think it was that dramatic. But
So then we should probably treat. Okay, so I guess moving forward, I don't know if we in a solutions part, but let's say positions of compromise. I think they should be handled much like how debates are ideally supposed to be handled. Let's say you're for or against something, putting aside stalemates, but let's say you're for or against something. Present your matter and present your witnesses for it. So if we're talking about movement and we're talking, let's say one person has to, since I know that's the narrative that's been pushed, but this can apply to anything. Let's say a person gets a job offer or something like that would kind of put them in the next tax bracket, so it's a big opportunity for them as a family, which would increase their earning potential and some other things. Looking at it as like Shema spoke as a business, and those are kind of things that are prevalent. I know in most relationships, it's spiritual and it's financial, which are the two kind of top reasons why things either go good or don't.
That's right.
So that person for the move would then, okay, this will put us in a new earning potential, which would allow us to provide a better life, et cetera, et cetera. But maybe they have to move into an area where, like I said, the crime rate is high. There are certain demographics.
like the West Side, for example.
Oh, God.
Wow.
You know what? I'm going to leave that alone before I get lumped. Into that.
I'm about to go quick. Talk about yourself.
Or let's say that, people of a certain demographic are often arrested in that area. She could, or he, or the other person can then bring up that point. Well, this is why we shouldn't move. What if they have children and the school system is horrible? And it shows that, education factors might weigh in. So you may think maybe that move for a better earning potential might be greater, but there's other dynamics that would kind of show maybe y'all weren't in that higher earning potential. Other things might be solidified, which comes in. This is when the foundation comes in, because you guys both have had to have, I guess, an understanding on what is more important. So if it's a family, is education for the kids more important than making more money? Or is having a bigger house and more space more important than having a certain amount of money? I give you a specific, I I guess, analogy relating to myself. I had the opportunity. This is not necessarily a relationship because there wasn't no love interest or anything involved. But I had the opportunity to. I was, I guess, offered the opportunity to move to another state, where I could potentially have not earned as much money as I could possibly earn where I'm at now, but the cost of living was a little lower down there, right? So ideally, I had to make a choice. I'm where I'm at because of where I'm at, but I had to make the choice because both situations, I kind of had to weigh the options of which one was better. Although I would have been able to move, I would not have had a firm living place. I would have to find that. Also finding a job.
Right.
So living might be less, but maybe I might not. Maybe I wouldn't be able to find employment. At the time, I was looking for things that was within my field and or the field that I was working in, and it kind of didn't root out to being the best choice. So I had to kind of figure out how I wanted to do things, and I ultimately chose to stay. But I think that's what I mean by making sure your foundation is set. You got your foundation set. You have that relationship. You're building towards something. But you have to kind of yield and be let your most humble self speak and kind of see what's that greater good. So try to lay out both aspects, put both aspects of the debate out, and then choose which one is best. Or even if y'all have to come to an agreement, if it's you plus the kids, if it's y'all plus the kids, or y'all plus the kids, or whatever else,
Right.
It's a mixed family that involves multiple generations. It can't be one person saying this is what I want to do and this is what we're going to do because of that. It kind of has to be this is what I want to do and how does that fit us? Because we're moving as a us.
Right.
So I want to kind of flip in that. I want to move into a different scenario.
Sure.
So you have so that was good. Hopefully people come back and they listen to it, give their thoughts on it. We got to get people to, we had a few different people that came on that they was liking what we was doing. I would love for people to start sharing it. But anyway, here's the other topic. The other topic is see, here's the thing with me, before we go into the topic, I think that a lot of these different scenarios can be prevented. And going back to like what y'all said, the foundation, speaking in the beginning, communicating, talking about all the things that you are a part of, all the things that you are associated with or your belief, everything, putting it out there. Now, some people still lie and just want to be a part of it because they're really liking you. But that's where you got to separate your thoughts about them from maybe you might think they sexually attractive or good looking or whatever. You got to remove that. You got to use wisdom, but put everything out there. So going into the scenario, what if you have, I think one issue is friends, the people that the man and or the woman are associated with, the influence of those friends. I've heard people talk about that they wanted the person they were with to stop dealing with those friends. Some people won't do that. They won't compromise friends that they've been friends with for 15, 16 years for somebody that they've just been with for about 2 or 3 years. How do you go about that?
Oh,
And okay, yeah, you go. I kind of no, it's cool. I think that I'm glad you brought that up because that was the other part of the compromise that I want us to get into. when you compromise who you are. So forget about God and the Bible. Like, do you compromise who you are? Because I believe that we're all created differently on purpose. Like, if he wanted us all to be the same, we'll all be the same. I think the foundational thing is where we come to sameness, but the differences in between us are there for a reason, and they're beautiful. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. I feel like with a situation like that, where you come into a relationship and the person is now asking you to not be who you are. Like when you saw me from afar, you probably saw me with a bunch of dudes around me. I don't know. I'm exaggerating, but or whatever it was. You saw you, and you was hanging out with your girlfriends, and not sexually, but the women around you. And now that you are coming together, then there's a call for you to stop being that part. I mean, I think that's a huge problem.
Yeah.
Like and then I think too, the older you get, things change. So even outside of that situation, the older you get, you might compromise even more with the person, because you always reveal parts of yourselves that maybe, I don't know, whatever. But to your point, I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think it's a good idea to start off the relationship lying and hiding parts of yourself that the person. But the good thing is about these beginning stages solutions, is that if they saying that to you right now, they probably not going to stop saying that. They probably for real when they say, I don't want you doing that. So just like word of caution to both sides of the coin, men and women. If the person is showing you that parts of you right now are not satisfactory, then why would you even entertain that? But like you said, Shamar, maybe they're attracted by, she got a big old whatever, or he got a big old beard. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. That's the
What's up with the beards, man? We trying.
Oh man. Hey, brother Shamar, at least yours connect on the side.
I'm trying, man. Hey, I'm gonna post a picture of my dad and my son later today, man. He gives me hope because his beard is full, and I'm like his identical, both same. We both got the same body type, basketball, all that stuff. So he's my hope. But what's gonna make me mad is if I got all these quality, all these attributes that he has, but my beard don't fully come in. He said his beard didn't start coming in until like between 30, mid 30.
That's what I've been told too. So hope is loud. If I get to 35 and I ain't got no beard, I'm gonna be in the mirror screaming. But back to what Tamar was saying. I have to agree. Removing spirituality out, even though I know that plays a big aspect to who we are, or who we're becoming to be, are trying to become. Now, losing yourself within a relationship, that's what I was talking about when we were talking about being an individual, individuality, which in some cases it's kind of good to kind of put that to the side, but at that starting point, because we're talking about, I guess I would hope to imagine, at least where I'm coming from, is you're already in that relationship. So taking ourselves out of that, or moving into becoming one, or moving into we're going to move forward with a relationship, because I know we're speaking from different areas of being together, or what is considered together. Right.
Yeah. Right.
Ideally, you don't want to lie starting off, or you don't. I think compromise is something that happens over time. It's not something that's immediately started with, because you're removing parts of who you are, which is going to eventually seep back in when you get tired of playing that character.
Exactly.
It's like actors. Not to bring up the movies, but the Avengers movies. A lot of those actors' contracts were up. Were a certain extent contracts, 5-year contracts, 3 movie contracts. Some of those deals are up, and those characters were tired of being that character, right? At some point, when you begin to compromise that early, you get tired of that character that you portrayed yourself as, and you start wanting to be you. Or as Tamar said, you have shown you begin to show other aspects of your secret self, your customer service
Customer service representative, right?
You get fired, and that real you pop out. If you're not showing who that real you is from the beginning and allowing that other person to decide if they be wrapped around that position, then you're not only doing yourself disservice, you're doing them one as well.
You're wasting their time.
Exactly. So to your question, Shema, no, you shouldn't compromise that early. I think compromise should be something related to case-by-case scenarios or situations.
There you go.
I don't think it should be related to your personality or who you are as an individual. So when I say remove yourself from the aspect of being, I'm solely speaking on being selfish or what I want. Secondly, if you getting in a relationship off of physical looks alone anyway, you ain't bound to stay in that one for that long, because those things don't last. Eventually you'll get, excuse my language, eventually you'll get tired of the booty. Personality is starting to drive you crazy and you don't want to leave.
Right.
That's right.
So long story short, you gotta like that person as an individual first, or you gotta understand that. It's just an ideal of understanding that and being humble enough not to be selfish in a situation.
And I will say this real quick. It sucks, man. It sucks that people do not be who they are in the beginning. And for those that do start off as they already are, that's good, because it gives the person that they're courting or they're with or whatever the opportunity to know in the beginning. But here's the problem. This goes back to what I said in the beginning. Most of us aren't mature. And when I say maturity, or what Isaiah would say spiritual, when he talked about spiritual, I took that as mature, something dealing with maturity as well, because when you're truly spiritual, then you operate within a spiritual mindset, which is maturity, and you're able to discern. You have wisdom in your decisions. You do not compromise your integrity, your decisions, your thoughts. You don't compromise it. And I'm at this point now, finally, at 34. Well, I started like 31 actually, to where I was like, you know what? I can't compromise at all, because I did prior. And so my advice to people that's younger than me, that's under 30, and especially for those that don't got no children.
Yeah.
Do not, if you're a part of this walk anyway, do not compromise. And if you're not a part of this walk, have standards, have goals, and do not compromise. Compromising is for those that are within a relationship and they are subject by subject, kind of like what Isaiah was saying. And when you have those subject by subjects, my advice would be to have the foundation as if you are a part of this culture, the Torah. Kind of like if you're at work, you have a structure. If you're not a part of this culture, my advice to you would be have something set in stone to where you might do something like a casting of the lots, something similar, or it will be something what Isaiah said. But see, the thing that I have an issue with what I just said outside of the Torah and what Isaiah said outside of the Torah in a sense is that my accountability is, I guess, will be a little, in my opinion, stronger due to my cultural belief. So I will hold that casting of lots high in regards to who I hold as the creator. For those that might be outside, the advice that I'm giving you as far as coming up with some type of solution to where you all can come together. For example, Isaiah's example with the debating standard, that's going to take a lot of maturity on you all's part. That's going to take a lot of integrity. on you all's part to stand firm on the decision that was against it.
Right.
Some people will go against it.
That's a good point too.
Now, that's not to say those that's within our culture wouldn't go against it either. Because, like I said, it's people in Nation of Islam, Christianity, Jewish, Judaism, or Hebrew Israelites that still won't. I don't even consider myself a Hebrew Israelite, but
Right.
I identify with the culture. I don't consider Hebrew Israelite because it's an oxymoron to me. But
exactly.
But I'm not trying to get on people that go by it. So I just want to make sure I say
Right. I feel you. No, that's cool. Yeah.
So, so what I'm saying is, even those with the nose, they don't hold their integrity they don't keep their integrity in what they decide, whoever they're like. So it really don't matter. It just at the end of the day, it boils down to the individual. But my advice, like I said, is if you go the route and you're outside of a certain cultural belief system, you just got to make sure your integrity is held, your maturity, and you stand firm on what it is you all both decided on. But you have to at least decide on something in a mature fashion. That's all.
Yeah, I don't like how you clarified that, because the topic of the conversation is I forgot what it was, but it's when should you compromise? Yeah, when should you compromise in a relationship? And that your last comments kind of clarified that it's in the context of a relationship. Period. Compromising is only in that context. Because why would you be compromising with somebody who you don't have a partnership, business partnership with, a covenant with, or some kind of foundation or anything? So that's a good to bring that out. You know what I'm saying? And I agree too. Like it's only going to work because even if you are in
Isaiah said it before me though. I just want to say that
did he? Oh,
Isaiah.
okay.
He said that, I think so.
Well, y'all all look alike. I'm sorry.
Oh, talking about our beards.
I'm sorry. No, I'm just.
I definitely thought.
No,
that one of those racist.
I was being
looking like jokes.
I was being racist. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I thought so. But that was a double whammy. That was a good one.
Was it though?
That's standard.
Okay. I'm here all week.
You know what? If somebody chop that one portion of this video up.
Right.
But yeah. No, I think y'all both made. I don't know if I just stepped on somebody's toes. I apologize. But I think.
No, it's cool. I mean, I was just saying that I like that. That's good to like remember. You know what I'm saying? Because I joking about the whole customer service thing, but for real, like being authentic from the beginning. And I love, somebody said it, I'm not sure who said it, about letting that be the thing that weed people out. You know what I'm saying? That actually, you being yourself is actually the curve. That's how you curve people. You know what I'm saying? You just be like, I'm here. Who's still here with me? Nobody? Okay. And then you keep moving on. You know what I'm saying? Waste a lot of time. And I think that was a learned thing for me. Like I learned to stop hiding who I was. That's a recent thing for me. And I'm 41 years old. So time is everything. Shows you.
No, I'm playing. I'm playing. I'm so playing. I'm right behind you. So come on now. I'm messing with you.
Right. Good one. I walked right into that. But yeah, being yourself, you know what I'm saying, and then letting that be the thing that separates people, and then whoever is still standing and y'all get along or whatever, y'all build from there, and they'll even make situations where you have to compromise even bearable because you know this person got your back. They love you like authentically, you know what I'm saying?
So that was definitely dope. Understanding that compromise or the ideal of compromising should be only solidified once a not strong connection, but not only a strong connection, but an agreement has been made on where the parties stand. I don't think compromise is a courting thing.
Right.
If that makes
yeah, it does make sense.
It is not a courting thing. Maybe, find the time to deal with each other. That's something different. But compromising on where y'all going and the ways y'all should go should only be established once that foundation on who you guys are, who you guys are learning, or the culture of that relationship is what is that going to be? Because once you set that, then any decision that is made afterwards will be based on the greater good. I like what I said about maturity, because that greater good and that understanding can only come from an aspect of being mature. So based off of that, I want to ask you a question. So just to keep the conversation rolling. With that understanding, what happens to those who have knowledge, or let's say somebody's watching this video, or a couple is watching this video right now, and they have some key things that they've either made compromise, want to make compromise, or even want to revisit the decisions, right, that could possibly be made. And they understand that they're not mature enough to make those decisions, or they're not mature enough to handle it with some of the solutions that we've presented thus far. What would be your advice to them, or what would you tell them in that position?
That first part, I did not catch that first part. I'm so sorry. You think you can repeat that first part?
What was the first part?
Just in general, the question.
Okay, yeah. Okay, so basically, I just restate it. A simpler way to restate that: someone who is watching this video,
okay,
they've decided that maybe they want to revisit some things or look at where they're at now. Maybe they have some big decisions on the horizon, and they realize that they're not mature enough to utilize the tools that we've kind of laid out, or the suggestions that we put forth. What would be your advice to them? Because what if somebody says, okay, using like how I said the debating thing, or putting that forward and kind of listing out all of the pros and cons for a situation. Mm-hmm. What if they're not willing, or what if they don't have the understanding? What if they can't look at it in the sense of what's the greater good for all of us? What advice would you give them to either obtain that maturity or whatever?
See, I told you, that's why I like you, man. You know what I'm saying? That's why I like you, man. You come up with some good questions, man. All right, so that's a perfect question, because it goes into, if you think about it, a lot of them wasn't on the platform that all three of us was. You came on a lot on the platform of Blog Talk Radio. And it goes on to self-preservation. But self-preservation, man, it's like in order to get to that level, and mind you, I know people, well, I don't know, but I feel like people are like, dude, what are you talking about? What I see in our community, and what I see with even people outside of our community, is we react too fast.
Yeah.
And that comes from a lack of self-preservation. And when I say self-preservation, I'm talking about learning how to operate within your community and outside of your community through the wisdom of those before you. And when I say that, when you think of family structure, a lot of times the way that we operate is due to our family history or structure within the history previously before us. I ain't talking about ancestors far back. I'm talking about even a couple generations before us. So I'm going to get to the question you asked. A lot of times we're not able to operate in it because we have not focused on ourselves. And I see we react too quickly. So if we're not able to control how we react, then you're not going to be able to control or be mature in a debating setting. Let me give you the most perfect example I can give you. Some people that can control themselves will be looked at as men that lack masculinity.
Yeah.
Some women that are able to control themselves will be looked at as pushovers. We are in a world to where they want men to be over masculine and they want women to be over feminine. They want to be masculine.
Right.
Here's another perfect example. It's a brother by the name of Ron Shield, Divine Prospect. He was just in a not a debate, but a conversation, a discussion with two other brothers, or was it three? It was two or three. They had different views. If you would have listened to that, I watched the whole thing. I listened to the whole thing. But that's only because I wanted to hear everything they were saying. I wanted to leave after 25 minutes because they didn't know how to let people finish talking. They would not let the statement get finished or the presentation to get finished. Hold on one second. Here, take this. I'm sorry, y'all. Yeah, go ahead into the bathroom. But I'll get this ready for you. My daughter, she's sick, so I gotta take her some little, you know what I'm saying, little medicine. Anyway, they was very emotionally driven, and then one of the Sinetta, or whatever his name is, called one of the guys out and said, "Man, you're being emotional," and he didn't even understand that emotional don't mean you're acting like a woman.
Woman, right.
Emotional is your reaction. You're reacting too quickly. So I said all that to say this, and hopefully people gather what I was trying to say. In order for that person or those people you speaking of that know that they're not mature in that aspect, or they fall short in that aspect, they have to figure out a way of self-control. If they can learn how to be self-control in multiple subjects and different scenarios, then it will be easier for you to receive what someone is bringing to you listening-wise, not just jumping into it. Now, it's going to happen sometimes. You're going to have conversations. You're going to want to jump in and things like that. But for the most part, a lot of failures in communication because we don't know how to communicate. We don't know how to receive from the other person, listening and giving our explanation or our thoughts in a way to where the other person will receive. And that's all I get.
Yeah, I would agree with that. As far as like being able to communicate, and also, it was something. The last thing you said, I was just getting ready to respond to it. You said being able to communicate. I forget, but then also having examples of people around you. So if they can't find ways to communicate, I mean, you know, it's obviously bigger issues, but maybe they'll be impressed about people around them. Maybe there's some couples around them that they can go talk to, which I know that can sometimes be problematic. But if they are not mature enough to control themselves, I mean, we mimic people. Like, we mimic what we see as a people. So I think that might be another option, is that maybe they, maybe the counsel of somebody another couple that maybe they're the same age, not even about older people. Maybe it's another couple that they know, and they just go and talk to them to try to find out. And then maybe through that conversation, they'll be encouraged, because then again, it's about accountability. So if they're in their relationship and they are not able to control their emotions, not emotions, you can't control your emotions, I mean, control their reactions to their emotions, that they have people around them that are rooting for them, like a community of people who will hold them accountable. If they can't hold each other accountable, that's another way to get at it. You know, I saw something the other day that said that, you know, anybody that's friends with a man that does X, Y, and Z is a bad person, basically. You know, but being around people and holding people accountable is what keeps us strong. You know, I'm a big believer in community. I think community is everything. So it's not do it on your own, especially if you don't even know how to even begin. But you know, that's all I wanted to say.
No, that's good stuff.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
I actually like the aspect of what you said as far as sometimes seeking wise counsel
Right.
outside of that relationship. Indeed, both parties should agree that that person or a group of people are considered wise.
Oh yeah, that's a whole other conversation.
Or else, you know, it'd be pointless. But once you find someone that, you know, y'all both mutually respect,
Right.
you know, y'all can kind of seek that narrative. Because I would like to think, you know, we all are mature enough. But sometimes there's certain matters where we kind of we operate in a sense of not being mature. We operate from an aspect of selfishness, which to me, when you're doing that, that goes into a standpoint of immaturity.
Mm-hmm.
So finding out what those core characteristics that link to immaturity, and finding, I guess, a group of people or a nucleus of people to keep close enough where they don't necessarily know all your business, or far enough where they don't necessarily know all your business, but close enough where you can kind of see how their counsel could help you guys through it. So I like that.
I was gonna say something, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. I'm gonna leave it there. You can go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was gonna say, even in that situation where not want people to be in your business, I'm just saying, if you're asking for somebody to give you wise counsel, you got to tell them the whole story. You can't leave stuff out, or else you're inviting them to give you unrighteous counsel. Judgment.
Right.
Making a righteous judgment. So.
I agree.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. That's why like literally, man. It's not what people. To me, it's not what people think. I don't believe that we just supposed to have. Well, when we get to that stage and that point, like we did back then, sure. But at this point, I don't think we're at a place to where you can go to multiple elders or things like that. I think that it's like so you should have a select one.
Oh, absolutely.
or maybe two. Like me personally, I have two individuals that if I ever have anything I need counseling on, they are the two that I go to. I know that they're objective. I know they're not going to just give me advice based upon me or emotions. They're going to let me know, and vice versa. I think that we lack that. I think that a lot of times we deal with people who are going to side with us. So anyway, I'm not trying to go outside of it, the compromising. So I think we should get ready to close.
Yep.
I think that, we'll go ahead and let Isaiah have some closing words, and then, Tamar, I don't know if you want to go before me, but I guess let you decide, once he's done, and then we close it out.
Okay.
Okay. What I will say is, again, thank you all for allowing me to hop on and, kind of share some things and speak on the topic. It was fun. Only thing I would say as far as closing remarks would be, as people, it's about time that we are looking at these matters and dealing with them a little deeper than just the surface level. We have a lot of situations and a lot of things to critique and correct. Critique and correct as far as being human beings, more so than a community of people. And it's about time that we start focusing on it. And I think once we critique ourselves as far as human beings, that would help us become a better community of people.
That's right.
I'm going to go ahead and yield on that, and you guys can take the floor.
You can go ahead, Shamar. I'll go there.
Okay. Well, appreciate those of you that might come back and watch it and listen to what we've been speaking on, dealing with compromising. I think it's a lot of things that was said that was greatly said by Sister Tamar and Brother Isaiah. Really would appreciate if you all share it. Definitely make sure that you tune in next Shabbat at 12 o'clock Central Standard Time, 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. We talk about different topics dealing with the so-called black man and woman in the community, or if you are identifying with the culture of Yisrael or Israelite, then definitely for you as well. I had fun, man. I had fun. I soaked in a lot of information. I think it's going to help me on my journey. I hope that the stuff that I said helps you on your journey. And lastly, make sure you go download my mixtape, R&B mixtape, Hebrew Love Volume 1. I'll make sure I put it up in the chat, shamattanamido.bandcamp.com. You know I gotta promote it, y'all. I gotta promote
Yes,
it.
okay.
Check out my book that my letter I put up about a month ago, a few weeks ago, A Manual to Self-Preservation, Divine Conscious.
Yep.
And that's it.
Yeah. Yep. And I enjoyed the conversation as well. Again, we always encourage people to send us, well, first of all, make comments about the conversation. I learned a lot about it. It was a lot more. Every time we get on, I learn more about the complexity of the issues and never just surface level. So I benefit from it. And I pray y'all will as well. And then if you have any suggestions for topics, let us know and we will implement them. And of course, you're always welcome to come on with us and join the conversation live if you're able to, audio or visual, and then definitely share the video. Let's keep the conversation going, and like us on Facebook, Love Language the Roundtable, so you can stay tuned in when we have events coming up and when we go live. So that is all.
All right.
All right.
Take
Grace
it
peace. Yeah.
easy.